everybody. Greetings. Thank you very much for being with us today. I'm Monty Alexander, and you just had to endure a piece of music that I performed some years ago. That was a composition of mine. I don't even know what to call it. It's not a tune. It's just me trying to create the feeling of the bee. Originally, I had a title. I saw the slithering snake, and I called it the Serpent. It was a part of a recording I did called The River, on which I made up performances of inspirational songs, including some of the classic hymns that we loved. But I did this thing, and it was called The Serpent. And the years went by, and I used to play it, and it's kind of like, what a strange item. But what I just heard is one of the meanest piano players I've ever heard. Guess what? I don't know how to put it. It's me, Monty Alexander. I mean, mean in the street is saying kind of mean. Meaning a lot of piano playing, dexterity and phenomenal technique and all those big words. So I sat at the piano one day and I just made this thing up. And one day, because as you may have recalled, that I shared my common interests, hobbies and let's call them escapes from all the worldly concerns. I loved the boxing world. I loved Ali, how fast he was, and I remember that phrase that they used about Ali when he was in the ring. He'd float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. So I've retitled The Serpent. I call it The Bee and the Butterfly, or The Butterfly and the Bee, meaning the butterfly and the bee is Muhammad Ali. And yes, I created the bee, and I'll tell you another sort of personal issue here, where I had an experience about 8 years ago. I'm telling you the truth now, because things happen to people in life, and what do? Do you stop? Do you keep going? Well, in 2012, I was smitten with a disease called cancer. Yeah, I got me some cancer, C-A-N-C-E-R. And some people say that, well, that's the end. And my version was the very end, supposedly, because it was pancreatic cancer. When you get that pancreatic, boy, let me tell you, that's supposed to take you down. But a miracle took place. And here I am, 9 years later. The point I'm making is, I kept going. I was playing a lot of piano, and I was still okay. But what happened the first night I took the chemo, I got me a stroke. S-T-R-O-K-E. Now there's big strokes, there's mean strokes, there's terrible strokes. And I remember seeing some of the other folks that had that. Now I had what you might call, I don't know, it wasn't the mild one, because you see me, I'm still going like this, right? But it affected the left side. So all that piano playing I just did doesn't come as easy. But I still love music, and I can talk about it, and I can play it, and I perform, and I still get a nice attendance. And the people hear another version of Monty Alexander, this guy who's been playing the piano from he was 3 years old. Became my passport to life. I left Jamaica and came to Miami, and next thing you know, I'm playing in all the bars, the saloons. I didn't go to the music schools, and it's kind of a magical ride. And this thing where I talk on Saturdays is an opportunity for me to share that with you, because when I look back on it, it's a remarkable series of adventures I've had. Not all about music, like most of us, all kind of stuff, So, the B, I remember doing this at the piano. Oh, it's the left side, it don't work as good. rough version of the B, Muhammad Ali, because I used to play that the way you first heard it, right? That was like 30 years ago, 25 years ago. So we move on, and we move on with whatever our setbacks are in life, and you look for the positive, and you keep going. Even if you get a stroke, which I got. And I got it out there, because some people say, don't tell the people that, that's depressing. No.
When everybody's scared. Everybody's scared.
Well, anyhow, this is my best number one person talking, and she's always saying, don't do that, don't do that. And I said, no, man, I'm going to tell folks, the truth shall set you free. You know what I mean? So on that note, folks, it's such a pleasure to be with you one more time on this Saturday afternoon in New York City. And we got some wonderful music to share with you, which I hope you will enjoy. And it's not just me today, but I'm inviting co-pilot, number one person, wife, Katerina Zapponi, who we've been together for a good many wonderful 25 years now. And this is to share with you the love that we have for music and the good songs that came from the music. And you see, growing up in Jamaica, where everything was just, you know, raw from the earth, and the little songs, the folk songs handed down from West Africa that we grew up singing and loving and dancing, but at the same time, American beautiful songs hit us in Jamaica, whether it was the rhythm and blues from New Orleans, when I heard those great artists that I saw in Jamaica, or the beautiful ballads, or what we call the Great American Songbook. And this word that came to me later called jazz. Now, I never thought of myself as a jazz musician, because I remember certain kinds of songs the jazz musicians kind of frowned upon. I don't know why, but the trouble is I loved all the songs. I loved the cowboy songs, the Jamaica songs, some of the classical songs, name it. And the jazz people didn't play that really. So I didn't call myself a jazz musician. I call myself a music musician. And I'm a people musician. When I play, I'm thinking, play nice songs that have nothing to do with jazz, you know? So, a little speech, I'm going to wind down, and Katerina is going to join me any second, and we're going to explore some amazing things that have to do a lot with what we call the movies, the films, the theaters that we had in Jamaica, and that she had in Rome, Italy, growing up in Rome, and that made our lives so much more wonderful. And we just go home singing those melodies from those films. Hey, where you going?
Yeah.
You left the road, you left town, what's happening? Okay, she disappeared for a second. And
I'm here.
so the main thing is, we're gonna talk about, you know, I made my first album in 1965. Long ago, right? 1965, and I did more in 66. But 67 was a very pivotal year for a lot of people, and especially for me, and also for Katerina. We call her Cat, or in a very close way I say my puss. Pussycat, same thing, right? So I made this album, and I was hanging out with Mr. Miles Davis, and I said, I'm going to be recording an album. And he said, somehow Mr. Miles Davis enjoyed what I did on the piano, so much so that he invited me, because he was very picky. Miles didn't just have anybody come around, right? And the man said to me, which shook me up, because I was still trying to find my legs. And he said, in his raspy voice, he said, let me produce it. Produce it? Miles Davis going to produce a record? Well, the defiant guy that I was, and a little bit of fear that was in me, to listen to a genius, a musician, to tell me do this or do not do that. I didn't know how to listen to other people. I was a stubborn little guy. I did my own little things, and I didn't have the good sense to listen to what Miles Davis said and say, yes, Miles, I accept your incredible gesture. And I sort of went ahead and made my album, and there we have it. Now, I'm going to show you the album cover if I can get the help from Miss Cat.
I'm getting the help.
You gonna give me the help?
A lot of technical difficulties today.
Yeah, one of those days.
It started when the computer crashed.
The computer crashed. All right.
The computer crashed.
Well, it wasn't like car crash or the other kind of crash, but when you have computer crash, in fact, the computer control the world now, and those of us, I hope everybody have some kind of computer, because that's how we're going to communicate with each other and look like, especially in this time when people don't touch each other, come close to each other. You have the computer doing these miraculous things where you have virtual people. I mean, you want to be able to smell the other person a little bit, but you can't. Smell good, by the way. What's that smell?
Soap.
No, all right, okay. So, all right. So, yeah, I made the record, and it came out nice, and I did not listen to Miles, and I went on and made my record. In fact, I was a little defiant, and I played some kind of music that normally the hippest musician probably would not have played. And I made my record, came out, and this is the album cover, and Katerina saw it. She said, people probably going to get a big kick out of that.
Well, I have questions. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here because we have questions. First of all, you put out the note that there something about this picture and what happened after this picture was taken.
Okay, I'm holding this record up because I don't believe I took this picture. I mean, I got on a tuxedo with, believe it or not, a blue shirt with a blue bow tie. And I'm acting and thinking that I'm James Bond, you know, or a playboy at the Playboy Club, and I'm having the time of my life. I mean, I was 23 years foolish, but I could play that piano, and that's how I got around. And I had this record date with RCA Victor, and I'll never forget the producer, a nice gentleman who was working with RCA Victor. He was the A&R man, we call it, artist and repertoire. And he was very kind to me, and I made the album. And there's some questions I know you'll ask me. But after I did the album, great incidents and then things pertaining to this cover. And I'll share that in a minute.
We have to hear about you said you're going to tell us what happened after this picture was taken.
Okay.
But okay, so year 1967 and you're 23 years old and recorded in New York, right? Yes?
27th Street Studios, I believe it was, where all the greats with Columbia and RCA, they would rent the studio. I know Thelonious Monk recorded down there. I think Elvis Presley recorded down there. Harry Belafonte recorded down there. And yours truly recorded there. So
RCA Victor. And didn't you tell me that you came back to that studio after you recorded?
yes, Brad McEwen, this very nice gentleman who helped me with the recording, he invited me to come on down to the studio a couple of weeks after because, why? Because Edward Kennedy, known as Duke Ellington was going to be recording with his band. And I'd already met Duke. I wasn't on deep personal friendly terms with him, but he knew me and I knew him, and I came there to just sit in the studio in the control room and watch Duke make what ended up being called his Far East Suite. You know, Duke was this very, how can I put it, orderly man that when he did his various songs, many of them supported by Billy Strayhorn, the great pianist, composer, he would sometimes put pieces together and call them some kind of suite, S-U-I-T-E, I like S-W-E-E-T. The suite, there's another thing. But
you saw Duke record.
I saw Duke record, and he had all the men in his band. There was Johnny Hodges, and there was Lawrence Brown, and the greats that were in his band. And I was there, and I saw it, and I heard the music. And as you noted, there are two different rhythm sections, and you said, how come you had two different rhythm sections?
Right.
Well, because one of the guys that did the session the first day wasn't available for the second day, and I went and got a whole different couple of guys, and they were all wonderful people. And two of them were Bob Cranshaw, my everlasting dear big brother, I call him, and drummer Al Foster, very much with us, taking care of business. He's one of my favorite musicians. I spoke to Al the other day. We had a beautiful reunion. He and I worked at the Playboy Club together. A lot of wonderful memories. And the other rhythm section is a fine bass player named Victor Gaskin, roots from the Virgin Islands, and drummer Roy McCurdy, and both of them were playing also with Cannonball Adderley around that period. So there I am.
Why the title Zing? Zing.
Well, I think they saw me as this piano player that when I sat at the piano, there was a zing. Meaning like, it's like you take off, the plane going up into the universe, right?
And that's also one of the tracks, the first track.
Yeah, I made up a little tune. I say, I made up this little tune. Oh, that's that tune.
Play a little.
It goes like, okay.
I can do my
Zing.
And that's
Zing.
yours.
That's my little tune I made. I don't think I've played
Zing.
that live since that session.
You should do it again.
Yeah, maybe
The
so.
reggae beat.
Put the Jamaican rhythm on it. Yeah.
And
Why not?
look, Nocturne in E flat.
No, that's the opposite of what Miles Davis would have said. Don't play that, man. I can just hear Miles say, don't play that, you know. But I wanted to play it. And the reason why I love these movies, and they influenced me greatly because I go home from seeing this movie, especially when there's music and I like the music, and I go to the piano and start making up stuff. And this movie I'm going to tell you about was the story of a popular pianist in New York back in the 20s, 30s. His name was Eddie Duchin, and he was playing at all the events where the elite crowd would come and play the cocktail songs and the beautiful standards of the day. And they made a movie about this man's life, tragic ending, and the movie star Tyrone Power played it, handsome Mr. Tyrone Power, and you have a connection with his
tell you
family
about that.
in Rome, right?
But also, yes. Well, his daughter they say,
Give me a
his
feel.
daughter's name is Romina.
You could say it again.
And she
Daughter.
lives in Italy. And the phone is ringing. I'm telling you, everything's going wrong today.
Yeah, well, that phone will not be answered.
Sorry, folks.
Maybe people are calling to say it ain't working.
Everything, this is a bloopers day.
All right, well,
It's Romina Power calling.
Okay, all right. So Tyrone Power and this
Yes.
very beautiful woman named Kim Novak. I mean, when you saw Kim Novak on the screen, if you were normal, your lip dropped to the floor. That's how beautiful Kim Novak was, you know. So that's what the Eddie Duchin story was, and included in there were many
So there was
lovely
Nocturne
songs.
in E flat.
Yes, and I
So
remember.
give us a little while I turn off the phone.
Okay. That's the Nocturne in E flat.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't play it from the paper I used my ears.
Did you
and
play it in E flat?
I played it in E flat, and Nocturne is like nighttime, but I played it in the daytime. So there you go.
And there was another song in there, and you recorded it here too.
That's
There's
right.
a song, You're My Everything. That's after I have to sing.
That is one of my all-time favorite standards. So many, and I'll fiddle it and give you a key, and somebody.
Oh, you want to sing and play it?
Well, I'll do the
Okay.
piano version, right? And
I've never sang this song before.
okay,
You will give it a shot.
it's D, right? You're gonna
F.
You're gonna D. Okay. Let's see how this go again.
the book I read. You're away beyond belief, and just to make it brief, you're my winter, summer, spring, my
It's wonderful. Boy, I
Come
love
here.
that song.
Yeah. That's
You're
a beautiful
my
song.
Jamaica's. You're my everything, man. You're my
Joe
everything.
Young, Harry Warren.
Harry Warren, one of the great composers for beautiful songs. So, as I heard somebody say, ask me another question. Do you like the movies, right?
Okay.
That was a classic tune.
Did we ask you all the questions? Yeah.
Well,
So, you're my everything, and that we were saying Tyrone Power's daughter came to Italy.
Yep.
And I saw that movie, the Eddie Luchin story, and he tragically dies at the end. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. The man is sitting at the piano, and the camera goes look to see another shot to see him at the piano.
And he's playing the beautiful.
Yeah, but the next time the camera comes, he's not there.
He's not at the
He
piano.
fell back. Of course, it's a movie. It's a movie. So.
And as a little girl, I'm crying. Oh, he's dead. The piano. And my mother's like, actually, that's Tyrone Power. He's the daddy of Romina Power, and he's actually really dead. It's like great. So that's how parents make
You
you
have
feel
a way of
better.
saying things so tragic.
That's what my mom said. He actually. So I cried twice as hard watching that.
Next.
Film families. I come from this movie.
Yes, I always wanted to ask you so that you can share with people because people are fascinated and you are not one to go around and talk about it that much. I mean, I have to usually say, tell me more. And it has to do with the fact that the greatest film genius in Italy was Federico Fellini.
Yeah,
And
but we're going ahead of me.
Oh yeah, I thought we were still dealing with 67.
That's exactly right. So
Okay,
why
you
67? When we mentioned Zing,
67.
in 1967, I said, wait a minute, that sounds like a familiar date. And for my family, and 67 is a crucial year because that's when my father, Bernardino Zapponi, met not only my mother, but also Federico Fellini, all in that 1 year.
You said he called him up on the phone.
He called him up on the phone. He talked about it in the book he wrote. See, I have a book.
The book.
About Il mio Fellini. That's my dad. That's a drawing of Federico of my dad at the typewriter. So, 1967, he's mentioning here, one morning, I have to translate it, one morning of July, so at 8:30 in the morning, I was awoken by a phone call, and a sweet voice said, I'm Federico Fellini, I read your book, and I remained enchanted. It was 1967, and I had just published a storybook called Go Bal, and guess what, I have Go Bal here. So Federico Fellini read this book of my dad, and he called him up and said, let's work together. And the year was 1967. So this and this were going on at the same time.
I got my blue shirt, my blue bow tie, and the two nice ladies sitting next to me. And you want to hear about what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Well, folks, this is the way it went. I was thinking maybe I was a cool cat, playboy kind of guy, Lovely women were lovely women. And, when you have two of them sitting behind you and you're kind of saying, these were hired models, I wonder if they might contemplate spending a little time with me. You know what I mean? Spend a little time, tea, cookies, whatever. And
Look at how they're looking at you.
Yeah, but that's fake stuff, right?
Yeah, but you maybe thought.
Yeah, but
you were 23, what do you know?
I felt their presence. And the blonde and the lady over there, and she's sitting on the piano, and I'm saying, man, if I get to know these ladies better, it'll be a beautiful day, even incredible. And after the session, I think I must have said to one of them, I said, would you like to meet? Or something like that. She looked at me and said, almost like, get away. I want nothing to do with you, man. And I got my money for the shot. And yeah, kind of like that. But I know they were nice young ladies, and it taught me something. Don't assume anything about anything. Don't assume anything. All right.
Especially with models.
So the Zing record has a lot of humor and anecdotes and amazing incidents. And now you spoke about Fellini and the movies that he made, right?
Yes. And there's a beautiful, since we're talking about movies and songs, my father did 7 of Fellini. The first they did together was a short story in a trilogy of 3 directors, Spirits of the Dead. I talked about that before, a cheerful little title. But there's a beautiful song that a lot of people hear, and I thought maybe we give a little tribute to Federico.
No, as you told me, it's from La Strada.
Yeah.
One of the original great movies with Giulietta
Mazzina,
his wife, right?
And
so,
Anthony Quinn.
So I heard the song and I loved it. It's just a sweet, sweet melody, and I think we should have a go at that.
Yeah,
And
another
you said-
premiere.
And you said the key was, are we sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Tu che amar non sai, tu che amar non puoi, sei stregata dall'amor. Sono gli occhi tuoi, freddi più che mai, ma che febbre nel tuo cuore. Hai sulle labbra quei baci che non dai e che non vuoi, nel desiderio che giammai si spegnerà. Tu che amar non sai, tu che amar non puoi, sei stregata dall'amor. Essere naturale. Oh.
Touching. Kind of nice. Tu que amor non sai. Would you translate that
You
to the Jamaican?
Yeah, for the Jamaicans. Only for the Jamaicans. You who don't know how to love, and you who cannot love, are yet you still bewitched by love. Your eyes are cold as ever, but there is fever in your heart.
Okay. That's I got it.
Cheerful
it's a,
song.
It's a cheerful but a beautiful message about loving. And I love that song. And
And speaking of loving, let's wrap it up with a co-porter love, because one of my favorite films, we talked about Eddie Ducci, my favorite film, since we're talking about love and films and favorite films, was many of them, Anchors Away from 1945, but then High Society.
And High Society was a pivotal moment for me as a young little cat wanting to play music. Why? Because one of the stars of High Society, this beautiful musical with Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and
Grace Kelly, Celeste Holmes.
Yeah, but for my point at that time, my biggest hero was Louis Armstrong, and I would take a big kick up saying, "Yes, that's I'll be doing my Satchmo impression," and he opens the movie in the back of the bus with his musicians sitting there playing his. They're all playing their instruments. They're singing, "I society, I society." And that tore me up, because I begged my father for the trumpet. I got the trumpet, and would you believe it? Not long after, a few weeks later, Satchmo came to Kingston, Jamaica, and I went to the show. My father knew the concert, the promoter, and we got to go backstage, and I shook Mr. Armstrong's hand, and it was a thrilling time for Monty Alexander. And you know, Armstrong, probably more than anybody, influenced the coming years of popular music, a lot of it known as jazz. He influenced, when you hear Billie Holiday, the Queen,
Yeah.
sing, her phrasing and her attitude to the music was all about Louis Armstrong. And also, my hero of vocals was Nat King Cole. And when Nat sang, you could, in the beginning, he was phrasing just like Satchmo. So, anyhow, there were some beautiful songs Sinatra sang in the film, Bing Crosby sang in the film, and there's a song called True Love.
True love.
And I'm going to give you a little introduction that you said.
You remember
Yeah,
the
right.
verse? Sometimes wind blow, honeymooners at last alone, feeling far above par. Oh, how lucky we are. While I gave to you and you gave to me, true love, true love, all that all, it'll always be love for you, and I have a guardian angel on high with nothing to do but to give to you and to give to me. Love forever true. Yeah, Cole Porter.
Yeah, I used to call him Paul Porter. And Mr. Porter wrote a beautiful song in True Love and so many other classics, all those movies with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, all so many great songs. By the way, I just want to say today,
Hey.
in honor of 3 thoughts that matter to me, I decided to put on this black shirt and another tie. I'm honoring my love of the westerns. You know, this somebody gave me this, and there's like cactus out there out west, and other things that have to do with that whole beautiful mythology about the western, which matters.
That's a cowboy on a horse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
them's the people out west.
I
Right.
never know how you're gonna dress up.
I don't know either. But also I'm honoring 2 important issues. One of them is a good man in my life, wonderful musician and friend, Jeff Hamilton, who gave me this
Hey.
handkerchief, pocket chief, whatever you call it. It's a chief, one of the things. And it's all about Jamaica. So this is a Jamaica kerchief, Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, that, and the whole bit of the black shirt, I was inspired when I saw my friend, the fabulous pianist, entertainer, singer of beautiful songs, Mr. Billy Stritch. I saw him wearing a black shirt and a colorful tie, and I said, you know what? I'm going to wear my black shirt and my colorful tie, so I'm saying hello to Mr. Billy Stritch, and you folks ought to check out Billy. He's got a wonderful music podcast, whatever you call that stuff, and he does his program, and it's available every week for you to enjoy, singing the great songs.
About Jeff, it's his birthday coming up.
Oh yeah?
And he just released an album. So we're plugging Jeff Hamilton's. You can find it everywhere.
Okay.
Just Google it.
Congratulations to Jeffrey Ray Hamilton from Richmond, Indiana. A good man and son of a wonderful mother and father. And we knew each other, joined me, and we played a lot of nice songs and made some fantastic recordings. We're still in touch. And also with his dear friend John Clayton, great bassist. And we have some music we hope to be able to release at some point where you hear music like coming from another level, from heaven, from, I don't know. And I'm playing the piano, and they're playing along, and the bass and the drum, and we're making one hell of a racket. Let's put it that way. Okay, so we talked about a couple other little things.
Shall I mention odds and ends announcements?
Odds and ends. Let's have some odds and
While
ends.
we're winding down. Don't forget to like Monty's Facebook page. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Monty Alexander and Twitter, Monty HKE. and subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is Monty Alexander Official. And don't forget to sign up for alerts so you can know when he goes live. And we've opened the shop on Monty's site because we just did these. And you can only find them on Monty's
What's
website.
these? What are
LP.
these? LP.
Warwick Hill.
Now, I've often said you don't get records anymore. And yes, unfortunately, the only records we hear about are the people with prison records. There's a bunch of them running around. We hope that if they've been, freed, and they're free and everything's okay. But this record is vinyl, and it's a trend now where a lot of lovers of certain music, they like to be able to put it on the turntable and get another fidelity in the sound that makes them enjoy it even more. So I did this album, and it is a mysterious thing because I had a fantasy that Thelonious Monk, one of our icons of jazz, he was out there in Jamaica hanging out with, guess what? The brothers of Jamaica, including the Rastafarians. I call it Rasta Monk vibrations, and you hear the spirit of the best reggae rhythms and the jazz musicians coming together. And as you know, America on paper is a place where we come together and we get along together and we blend together, we accept one another, and yes, we don't always get along together, but the end resolution is something called love. And that's what we need to do now. We got to accept one another, we got to forgive one another, we got to love one another, and understand that we are of many variety. And Jamaicans and Americans, we are of wondrous variety, no matter what your shade is, or your religion, or your this, or your that. And we're dealing with it now, and I'm just a big mouth piano player saying that I believe that we shall overcome. And I want to thank the world, thank the family of Mr. John Lewis, the congressman who raised him beautiful to give us so much inspiration, especially now when we need it. And I thank Mr. John Lewis for having been what the man he was with Dr. King. And all the people that mean to do the loving thing, because there's a loved way to do things. Okay, I shut my mouth, but Warwick Hill available with signature Monty Alexander.
Yep. In white or in black. Either one.
Okay, I'm good.
And
with
you
that.
can, I always do this because it's kind of cool that it opens up. So, that's
Anyhow, we had talked about some things that were a little additional because there's so much music here that I could offer right now, and I want to spend a minute or two talking about your mother's influences as a woman that was from France, and she loved a man named Henri Salvador.
Ah, yes.
And Henri Salvador came from Martinique or Guadeloupe, I'm not so sure, but he was of the persuasion where the islands and the spirit of the islands were in all his songs, in the same way, in some ways, as Harry Belafonte, who was born in Harlem, but his people were, some of them from Jamaica. And he flied the flag of Jamaica, meaning that he sang the songs. So I thought of these two men, but then again, Nat Cole had done these songs. There was one called Because You're Mine that I heard Mario Lanza singing in a movie called Because You're Mine, and Catherine Grayson was in it.
Was she in it? I guess.
I think she was. I'm not sure. But I hope I find the right key, and I'm going to have a go with it.
You be Mario Lanza.
I don't know about that. But I can do a little,
can be
I can do a
Mario
little Nat King Cole, and some people say, man, that's not King Cole.
There's a limit to my impersonations. I don't think
Yeah,
I can
but
do Mario
you're one
Lanza.
of the great impressionists I've heard. You know, because you're mine. All right, fine. But my mother used to go around the house singing Because You're Mine, and let me have a go at it. Because you're mine. The breeze that hurries by is like a melody, and why? Because you're mine. Because you're mine. Because you're mine. The breeze that hurries by is like a melody, and why? Because you're mine. Because you're mine. I only know for as long as I may live. I'll only live for the kiss that you alone may give me. And when we kiss, that isn't thunder, Dear, it's only my poor heart you hear, and it's applause because you're mine.
What are we singing?
Because you're mine, Catherine Grayson.
You mean the high soprano thing?
Yeah, pick it.
Because you're mine.
Yeah, like that. All right, we'll do that.
Brighter stars. There we go.
Quite amazing when you do that. Okay, so because you're mine, and I'm gonna play a song that Doris Day sang in a movie called Love Me or Leave Me, one of my very, very favorites, and it's called I'll Never Stop Loving You, and it goes like this.
This is all for the movie themes we love, movie songs.
I'll never stop loving you. Never stop loving you. So, babe, we can
That's
move
it.
on into a little Henri Salvador.
And wrap it up
Wrap it up.
with Calypso.
So,
This is my
here's a song that Henri Salvador, who was in France, recorded, and it's called Melody d'Amour, right?
Maladie d'amour, sickness of love.
Okay, and
Everybody's sick with love today.
all right, Melody d'Amour, and it was in the key of
D.
D.
Maladie d'amour, maladie de la jeunesse. Si tu n'aimes que moi, reste tout près de moi. Oh, maladie d'amour, maladie de la jeunesse. Si tu n'aimes que moi, reste tout près de moi. L'amour est tout petit, c'est joli, si joli. Mais quand il devient fort, c'est plus beau que la vie. J'irai sous le feuillage, chercher le serpent gris. Oh, quel amour, c'est la mort, mais c'est aussi la vie. Quel amour, c'est la mort, et c'est le paradis. Maladie d'amour, maladie de la jeunesse. Si tu n'aimes que moi, reste tout près de moi. Oh, maladie d'amour, maladie de la jeunesse. Si tu n'aimes que moi, reste tout près de moi. L'amour est tout petit, c'est joli, c'est joli. Mais quand il devient fort, c'est plus beau que la vie. J'irai sur le feuillage, chercher le serpent gris. Oh, quel amour, c'est la mort, mais c'est aussi la vie.
Joe. Hold him, Joe, don't you let him go. Hold him, Joe, hold him, Joe. Me say, hold him, Joe, don't you let him go. The donkey want water.
Hold him, Joe.
The donkey want whiskey.
Hold him, Joe.
The donkey want ganja.
Hold him, Joe.
The donkey want
Hold
ganja.
him, Joe.
Hold him, Joe, hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe, don't you let him go. Hold him, Joe, hold him, Joe. Hold up the donkey, no man. Hold him, Joe, hold him, Joe. Hold him, Joe, don't you let him go. Hold him, Joe, hold him, Joe. The donkey want water.
Hold him, Joe.
The donkey want water.
Hold him, Joe.
The donkey want donkey.
Hold him, Joe.
The donkey want money.
Hold him, Joe.
The donkey want chewing gum.
Hold him,
The
Joe.
donkey want chocolate.
Hold him,
The
Joe.
donkey want freedom.
Hold him, Joe. No.
Say, carry me ackee gold instead market, not a quantity what sell. Carry me ackee gold instead market, not a quantity what sell. Oh, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Say, carry me ackee gold instead market, not a quantity what sell. Carry me ackee gold instead market, not a quantity what sell. Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night is rough. Lord, what a night, not a bite. What a Saturday night. Day, Mr. D, Mr. D, Mr. D.